Clowning was relaxation for me. I enjoyed entertaining kids. I could put on clown makeup and I was relaxed. And I enjoyed doing it.
He smiled for the kids. He entertained families at birthday parties and charity events. But behind the grease paint and the laughter hid one of the most horrifying monsters in American history. Welcome back to Real Crime Stories, where we uncover the darkest truths behind some of the most chilling crimes in history. This is the story of John Wayne Gacy, the man the world would come to know as the Killer Clown. Between 1972 and 1978, Gacy brutally murdered at least 33 young men and boys in the suburbs of Chicago. Most of his victims were buried right beneath his own home, in the crawl space under his house. It's a story of deception, darkness, and double lives. A man who appeared to be a model citizen by day and a ruthless predator by night. But how did John Wayne Gacy become one of America's most terrifying serial killers? Let's go back to where it all began. Early life and hidden darkness. John Wayne Gacy was born on March 17, 1942, in Chicago, Illinois. He grew up the only son of a strict and often violent father. Gacy's father drank heavily and constantly belittled him, calling him sissy and worthless. Those words would echo in Gacy's mind for years, shaping his obsession with control and power. Despite his difficult home life, Gacy tried to present himself as normal, joining clubs, working part-time jobs, and trying desperately to please everyone. But even as a teenager, he lived with secrets. He knew he was attracted to men, something that brought him guilt and fear in an era when such feelings were condemned. Behind his smile, there was already something fractured, a mind beginning to split between who he wanted to be and what he truly was. The perfect mask. In the 1960s, Gacy appeared to turn his life around. He got married, became a father, and started his own contracting business. To the outside world, he was the picture of suburban success. He even found joy performing as a clown at children's hospitals and community events, creating his alter ego, Pogo the Clown. He once said the clown costume gave him power. "Clowns can get away with anything," he joked. But behind that costume, darker desires were taking over. In 1968, Gacy was arrested for sexually assaulting a 15-year-old boy. He served just 18 months in prison before being released. After his release, he moved back to Chicago, started fresh, and built his reputation as a hard-working, friendly neighbor. No one suspected the danger living next door. Gacy began hiring teenage boys for his construction company, offering them money, mentorship, and, for some, a false sense of safety. Many of those boys were never seen again. The murders. Gacy's killings followed a disturbingly consistent pattern. He would lure his victims to his home, often under the guise of discussing a job or hanging out. Once there, he'd pour them a drink, make small talk, and then suggest they try one of his tricks. He'd handcuff their wrists behind their backs, demonstrating how he could easily escape. But when they couldn't, the laughter turned to panic. That's when Gacy's true nature emerged.
In order to demonstrate it here, why don't you put your hand down? Okay, here. What I told him, I said, here, all you do is you wrap it around, you put one knot in it. And I said, then you put a second knot in it. Okay? I said, then you take a stick and stick it in here, and you just turn this. And I said, because this is a tourniquet. I said, that's the only one I ever learned.
Precisely the kind of knot found on the ropes, wrapped around the necks of the victims found under the house on Summerdale.
He raped, tortured, and strangled most of his victims, sometimes for his own amusement, sometimes to prove his dominance. Then, with chilling calculation, he buried them in the crawl space beneath his house, labeling sections of the ground like a human blueprint. When the crawl space filled, he began disposing of bodies in the nearby Des Plaines River. For 6 years, no one suspected a thing. To his community, he was still just that friendly clown. The investigation. In December 1978, everything unraveled. 15-year-old Robert Peast disappeared after telling his mother he was going to speak with a contractor about a part-time job. That contractor was John Wayne Gacy. When police questioned Gacy, they found his behavior suspicious. They began digging into his past, discovering his previous assault conviction. Officers obtained a warrant to search his home. Inside, they found a class ring, clothing that didn't belong to Gacy, and a terrible odor seeping from the floorboards. Gacy insisted it was a plumbing issue. But the truth was far worse. When detectives finally confronted him, Gacy broke down and confessed. He claimed he had killed at least 30 young men, though he couldn't remember all their names. He told police calmly, "I think there are 33, but I'm not sure." When investigators entered the crawl space, they uncovered layer after layer of human remains. One of the most gruesome discoveries in U.S. history. The trial and execution.
By now, the story of John Gacy is among the most gruesome chapters in American crime history. The Chicago contractor was convicted.
The nation was horrified. The idea that a respected citizen, a clown no less, could commit such atrocities shattered America's sense of safety. During his 1980 trial, Gacy's defense argued insanity. He claimed that his clown persona, Pogo, had taken control of him.
How about the multiple personality issue?
Oh, the multiple personality
But prosecutors presented overwhelming evidence, photographs, personal items from victims, and Gacy's own confession. After just 2 hours of deliberation, the jury returned with a verdict: guilty on all 33 counts of murder. He was sentenced to death. While on death row, Gacy painted hundreds of portraits, many of them clowns. Collectors later bought them for thousands, sparking outrage among victims' families. On May 10, 1994, John Wayne Gacy was executed by lethal injection. His final words? "Kiss my ass." Legacy and reflection. Today, John Wayne Gacy remains one of America's most infamous serial killers. His crimes inspired countless books, documentaries, and even horror films. But his legacy is more than infamy. It's a warning. He showed how evil can hide in plain sight, behind a smile, a friendly handshake, even a painted clown face. For the families of his victims, the nightmare never truly ended. Many of them still struggle with unanswered questions, broken memories, and grief that time cannot erase. But their courage in demanding justice ensured that the world would never forget the names of those he silenced. John Wayne Gacy was a father, a businessman, a clown, and a killer. He proved that sometimes the scariest monsters don't hide in the dark. They smile at you in plain sight. This has been the serial killer clown, John Wayne Gacy, Real Crime Stories. If you found this story disturbing but important, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us next time as we uncover more of the world's darkest true crime cases. Thank you for watching, and see you in our next video.